Good morning everyone. We are the group 9 and our topic is all about group dynamics. Group dynamics have 6 chapter outline, types of groups and teams, stages of group development, characteristic of effective work groups, problem solving and decision making, potential problems within groups, implications for managerial practice. So to describe the various types of groups and teams in organizations, first is a group. What is a group? Group is a collection of people who interact with one another, work towards some common purpose, and perceive themselves as a group. From the word group, alam naman natin na this is forming of two or more collection of people in an organization which they need to work with one another, work every common purpose, and as a group member of group, kailangan ng bawat isa maunawaan ang kanilang sarili bilang kasapi ng isang grupo. Next is team. Team, a special type of group in which the members have complementary skills and are committed to a common purpose, a set of performance goals, and an approach to the task. So, team is a number of persons associated together in work or activity of an organization. Being a member of a team, you need to have a complementary skills and you are committed to every common purpose, and also you need to set goals for the organizations you are involved in, and you need also to approach the given na dapat mong gawin as a member to give justice as you are part of a team. So there is important part of team functioning, and that is teamwork. So teamwork, a situation in which there is understanding and commitment to group goals on the part of all team member. So in teamwork daw is, ito ay pinakamahalaga na dapat meron sa isang organisasyon. Having teamwork leads to a better result of success of one's organization. Ganyan lang kasimple. Meron kayong kakaintindihan at commitment dun sa goal na gusto nyong ma-achieve as a team para sa inyong organisasyon. Groups and teams can be differentiated. So, a group is characterized by individual accountability, while a team has individual and mutual accountability. Speaking informally, a team might be regarded as a supergroup. So, we jump to a major factor in understanding both groups and teams is that they are governed to some extent by, this is called a group norms. So, what is group norms? Group norms is the guidelines for acceptable and unacceptable behaviors that are informally agreed on by group members. So, for example, the offender might be excluded from a group lunch or not consulted on a work problem. Kapag may kasalanan or nagkasala ka man, or because of your bad behavior, you have pwede ka nilang hindi kasama sa group lunch or hindi nila i-consult sa iyo kung ano ang mga problema sa work. So, it's better to be careful on the behavior na ipapakita towards sa mga kagrupo mo. One of the way which organizational citizenships, behavior, and group norms are related is that when enough individuals in the group demonstrate organizational citizenships behavior, the behavior becomes normative or to have standard itself. So next is formal versus informal groups. So first is formal group. Formal group, a group deliberately formed by the organization to accomplish specific tasks and achieve goals. Ito ay, sa formal group, ito ay isang grupo na kung kusang nabuo ng isang organisasyon para gawin ang specific tasks and ma-achieve ang goals of one group organization. So examples is departments, like projects, mga ganyan, task forces, committees, and search teams to find a new executive. So next is informal group. Informal group, a group that emerged over time through the interaction of workers typically to satisfy a social or recreational purpose. So sa informal group daw ay halos lahat daw dito, ang informal groups ay arises from workers who interact with one others or intranets or social media networks. So, example for this is members of a department who dine together occasionally would constitute. Ang informal groups daw ay nag-emerge sila over time na nag-interact sila within each other. Karamihan daw sa informal groups ay nag-arise from workers who interact with one another's through social media networks, mga ganyan. Like for example, sa social media network is such as workers discussing how to reduce the company's carbon emissions is what is the problem of the company and how they can resolve that problem. So now we jump to types of work teams. All workplace teams have the common elements of people who possess a mix of skills working together cooperatively. So there are four representative work teams. These are cross-functional teams, top management teams, crews, and virtual teams. So what is cross-functional team? This is a group composed of workers with different specialties but from about the same organizational level who come together to accomplish a task. So, ang purpose ng cross-functional teams is to get workers from different specialties, then to blend their talents toward the task that requires to them. In addition, ang cross-functional teams are used for purposes such as improving the quality, reducing the cost, and improving work processes. So, merong kay factor ang cross-functional team para maging success ay dapat the team leader has both technical and process skills. Tapos, the leader needs the technical background to understand the task and recognize the potential contribution of members from diverse specialties. In cross-functional team, they are a major advantage. Like the team is that they enhance communication across groups, thereby saving the time. Also, a leader in a cross-functional team is must have the interpersonal skills to facilitate a diverse group of people with limited experiences working collectively. So, to perform well on a cross-functional team, a person has to think in terms of the good of the larger organization rather than in terms of his or her own specialty. For example, a manufacturing technician might say, if I propose using expensive components for the LED screen for television sets, would the product cost too much for its intended market? Next is virtual team. Virtual team, a group that conducts almost all of its collaborative work via electronic communication rather than face-to-face meeting. Now we are on pandemic. Usually the team members are typically dispersed physically but also work in the same organization and contribute input at different times. So now we jump to use of virtual teams and challenges. Most high-tech companies make some use of virtual teams, strategic alliance in which geographically dispersed companies work with one another are natural fit for virtual. Virtual team is also an effective way of responding to a new workforce demographics in which the most talented employees may be located anywhere in the world and may demand personal flexibility in terms of when and where to perform such a work. In a virtual team, one advantage of team members is from different time zones working together is that a project can be worked on 24 hours per day without anybody working an extended day. For example, workers in India can provide input to a project, pass it along to workers in England, who in turn pass it along to workers in New York. Yet globally, virtual teams also face the challenges of differences in perception of time and different non-work days. So next is leadership and management of virtual teams. Although members of a virtual team have limited or minimum face-to-face contact with each other, they still need guidance and direction. In many firms, members of the virtual team participate in face-to-face team training before beginning the formal work of the team. Example, if meeting member Tanya is easily distracted, she might be asked to record each budget request that faces during the meeting. Next is shared team leadership. Shared team leadership, a mutual influence process in which team members collaborate on decision making, share responsibility, and lead each other toward the attainment of goals. Shared leadership was measured by a questionnaire. And the team leaders rated team performance on the dimension of work, quantity, quality, keeping projects on schedule, and staying within the budget. The results indicated that shared leadership was dapat positively associated with the team performance itself. Next is worker suitability for virtual team members. Employees best suited for virtual team members are those who like or at least don't mind ambiguity in their work assignments. In this situation, a willingness to think independently and take initiative is also helpful for the team. Being an effective virtual team member, it requires considerable self-discipline. Dapat meron ka niyan. As part of a team, meron kang self-discipline kasi malaking bagay yan. And as those being any type of remote worker, don't act like a remote worker when you are just an employee. Major reason why you need to be suitable for the virtual team member is that you often have to set your own work schedule, and a supervisor is not physically present every day. It depends on the schedule of the supervisors assigned to your one company. For you to be suitable for our virtual team members, you have to think through your tendencies toward being self-disciplined. Self-discipline, ito talaga ang pinakamalagang bagay na meron tayong baon kapag pumapasok kayo sa isang trabaho. Kailangan hindi mo wala ang self-discipline mo sa sarili mo at towards sa mga kasama mo. Kasi pag wala kang self-discipline, maaaring maapektuhan ang pagtatrabaho mo sa isang grupo, maaaring maapektuhan kung anong pananaw nila sa iyo as one of their team. So, the third types of work teams is crews. We are familiar with the common usage of the term crew in relation to such groups as those who operate airplanes, boats, and firefighting equipment like that. But the technical definition of the term crew is a group of specialists, each of whom has a specific roles, perform brief events that are closely synchronized with the work of other specialists, and repeats these events under different environmental conditions. So for example, crew is computer virus fighting crews, and fighting infectious diseases would be a welcome addition to business and society. And the last types of work teams is top management. Top management, a handful of companies are actually run by a committee of two or more top executive who claim to share power equally. Example is Tim Cook. Cook, right? I don't know if tama ang pagkabasa. Tim Cook is an Apple Incorporation. And Michael Dell is Dell Incorporation. Are example of highly visible and intelligent CEOs who regularly consult with their trusted advisors before making major decisions. Tama naman ang ginagawa nila. Bago ka mag-proceed sa new project mo, kailangan mo munang ipakita sa advisors mo kung tama ba ang mga ginawa. In this way, top management teams, they are like husband and wife team running a household. An example of two-person team sharing power of the top. So they can build a good result of an organization success.
The stages of group development. Key understanding the nature of work groups is to know what group does, the content, and how it proceeds to process. A key group process is a group development over time. In 1965, Bruce Tuckman, an educational psychologist, introduced the 5 stages of group development. The first stage is the forming stage. At the outset, members are eager to learn what tasks they will be performing, how they can benefit from group membership, and what constitutes acceptable behavior. Ito yung stage kung saan sinisimulan pa lang buuhin ang isang grupo. This is the how and what process of group development. It involves the period of orientation and getting acquainted with one another. This is the time where a group is just starting to come together and is described with anxiety and uncertainty. Ito yung time na kung saan ang bawat members are agreeable and overly polite and pleasant. Members are trying to familiarize the flow of work and the working environment itself. During this stage, group discussed the following: member skills, background and interests, project goals and timeline, ground rules, and individual roles. But because this stage focuses more on the people than on the work, team probably won't be very productive yet. The second stage is the storming stage. During the shakedown period, individual styles often come to conflict. Hostility, infighting, tension, and confrontation are typical. Storming stage is the most difficult and critical stage to pass through. It is a period marked by conflicts and competition as individual personalities emerge. Team performance may actually decrease in this stage because energy is put into unproductive activities. Members may disagree on team goals, and subgroup and cliques may form around strong personalities or areas of agreement. To get through this stage, members must overcome the obstacles to accept individual differences and to work through conflicting ideas on team and task goals. The third stage is the norming stage. After storming comes a quieter stage of overcoming resistance and establishing group of standard conduct or the norms. Cohesionness and commitment begin to develop. Group cohesion refers to the commitment of members to the purpose of group and the degree of attraction among individuals within the group. Norming stage is the stage where the group start to come together and coordinated unit and harmony prevails. The group itself quickly establishes limits for members, often by effective use of glares. Ito yung stage na kung saan through signs and gestures nagkakaunawaan na ang bawat isa. Relationships and bonds of every members are getting better. This is the stage where interpersonal differences begin to be resolved and cohesion and unity emerges. Norming stage is the stage of cooperation and integration. The fourth stage is the performing stage. When the group reaches performing stage, it is ready to focus on accomplishing its key tasks. Issues concerning interpersonal relations and task assignment are put aside as the groups become a well-functioning unit. In the performing stage, consensus and cooperation have been well established and the team is mature and organized. There is a clear and stable structure and members are committed to the team's mission. Problems and conflicts still emerge, but they are dealt with constructively. The team is focused on problem solving and meeting team goals. The last stage is the adjourning stage. Temporary work groups are abandoned after their task has been accomplished, much like a project team to erect an office tower. Adjourning stage is the graduation stage. Most of the team's goals have been successfully completed. This is the period of group disbandment. At this stage, the project is coming to an end and the team members are moving off in different directions. This is the stage of group dissolution. Roles within the groups. Another perspective on a group process is identifying team members' role. Knowledge contributor. Being technically proficient, the knowledge contributor provides the group with useful and valid information. Technical skills are the abilities and knowledge needed to perform specific tasks. He or she is intent on helping with task accomplishment and values sharing technical expertise with team members. Examples of those expertise are knowledge about programming languages, design programs, and use of mechanical tools, knowledge related to information technology, and many more. Next is process observer. A person occupying the role forces the group to look how the group functions. Example statement of process observer. We almost spent 2.5 hours and we have taken care of only one agenda item. Shouldn't we be going better. Process observer monitors the team's activities and the team's progress. Another role is people supporter. A person occupying this role assumes some of the leader's responsibility for providing emotional support to teammates and resolving conflict. He or she serves as a model of active listening while others make presentations. The people supporter helps others relax by smiling, making humorous comments, and appearing relaxed. He or she supports and encourages team members even when disagreeing with them. Another role is the challenger. To prevent complacency and non-critical thinking, a team needs one more members to confront and challenge bad ideas. Ang role ng challenger is to evaluate accordingly the decision or the preliminary thinking if it is lacking or good enough, and also evaluates the wrong behaviors of his or her co-worker. Another role is listener. Listening contributes so substantially to team success that it constitutes a separate role even though other roles involve listening. If just a few people are heard, the full contribution of effort cannot be realized. As a result of being a listener, the team leader or a team member is able to summarize discussion and progress of the team. Next role is mediator. Disputes with the group may become so intense and prolonged that two people may no longer listen or respond to each other. In that situation, team leader or team member mediates disputes. Pag mayroong di pagkakaunawaan at hidwaan sa pagitan ng bawat miyembro, ang mediator ay magsisilbing guidance counselor upang mapag-usapan at maayos ang di pagkakaintindihan. His or her role is to harmonize team's conflicts and misunderstanding. Gatekeeper. When the opportunity gate is closed to several members, the gatekeeper pries it open. He or she requests that a specific team member be allowed to contribute or the member's past contribution be recognized. The gatekeeper manages the flow of conversation in a group in order to achieve an appropriate balance that all group members get to participate in a meaningful way. He or she may help correct an imbalance between members who have provided much information already and members who have been quiet by saying something like, "Christian, we've heard a lot from you today. Let's hear from someone else. May, what are your thoughts on Christian's suggestion?" Gatekeepers should be cautious about calling people out or at least making them feel that way. Instead of scolding someone for not participating, they should be invitational and ask members to contribute to something specific instead of asking if they have anything to add. Lastly, the take charge leader. A starting point for take charge leader is to encourage the team to define its mission and list its three main objectives. Take charge leader take role especially when the team members are hesitant to make simple decision or to take a stand to some controversial matters. Also, take charge leader reminds the team on what are the goals and the mission to complete. According to the team role theory developed by R. Meredith Belbin, it is important for the group members to understand the roles that others play, when and how to let another group members take over, and how to compensate for shortcomings of others in the group. Roles tend to be based on the psychological makeup of individuals who adopt them naturally. Example, a person who has developed a good listening skills and gravitate toward the listener role, and a knowledgeable person will naturally assume the knowledge contributor role.
Work group characteristic related to effectiveness. Like individuals, groups have characteristics that can be grouped into 11 classifications. All the characteristics in the left contribute to group effectiveness, in terms of productivity and satisfaction. First characteristic of effective work groups are job design. Job design is an effective work groups follow the principle of job design, job enrichment, and job characteristic model. For example, work planning, training, feedback. Group members would also feel motivated if their work was being judged by others, as mentioned in Chapter 7, to develop self-management capabilities and to ensure participation in decision-making. Meaning, job design are designed to support and develop the skills of their members. Next, a feeling of empowerment. Effective work groups believe that they have the authority to solve a variety of problems without first obtaining approval from management. So, this refers to team members who are confident. Group experience, potency, meaningfulness, autonomy, and impact. Empowered teams share 4 experience. First, potency, which means enables its member to do anything they want without first obtaining approval from their boss. Meaningfulness, team with a sense of meaning are committed to their mission and see their goals as meaningful and valuable. While autonomy refers to the freedom and control the team's experience. And impact, when a team member sees the impact of their work on other people, it impacts them deeply. Diba kung may nagbibigay ng good compliment sa atin, mas namomotivate pa tayo lalo. Kaya, nagkakaroon tayo ng confident or kumpiyansa sa sarili. So, that's the feeling of empowerment. Next characteristic of effective work groups are interdependence and collaboration. Effective work groups are thus interdependent. Interdependence increases motivation and enhances the sense of responsibility for the work of the group as members interact and depend on one another to accomplish the task. Goal interdependence involves linking individual goals to the group goals. From the word interdependence and collaboration, which means in Tagalog, pagtutulungan or pakikipagtulungan. For example, mutual trust or trust. Why is trust necessary in collaboration? Trust is also important to an effective team, as it enables members to share their knowledge and concern without fear or being judged or criticized by others. Because the former two forms of interdependence, which task interdependent and goal interdependence, help boost the group morale and motivate its members. Next characteristic is team efficacy. A team's belief that it can successfully perform a specific task. Team efficacy is positively related to team performance. For example, set goal, know each other, communication. Communication, the ability to communicate in a clear, efficient way, is a critical teamwork skill. When working with others, it is important that you share your relevant thoughts, ideas, and key information. Because team efficacy is a concept that shows how individuals can improve their behavior within a team. Next characteristic of effective work groups are right size and mix. Groups need to be large enough to do the job yet small enough to maintain internal communication, cohesiveness, and coordination. Increasing group diversity improves problem solving. When your business is a champion for diversity in the workplace, you will expand your talent pool. Your employees will have different skill set, background, and experience. They will able to collaborate together and learn from each other, which will make them more well-rounded employees. Next characteristic is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is very important for team members. It can help them build relationships and perform better on tasks. Having a high level of emotional intelligence also helps groups establish mutual trust. For example, self-awareness and self-regulation. Self-awareness, You know how you feeling all the time, and you understand those affecting people around you. While self-regulation, you can control your emotion and action. The meaning the emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotion, understand them, and see how the effect of those around you. Support for the work group. The availability of sufficient resources is essential to the group success. For example, training and managerial support. Training and managerial support can increase job satisfaction and morale among employees, and it increases employees' motivation, which improve the quality of work. And it increases also the capacity to adapt new technologies and methods. Effective process within the group. Simply believing that the group can do anything enhances group effectiveness. For example, workload sharing, communication, social support, right? Supporting one another through social support is another process characteristic that can help the group effectiveness. Group cohesiveness, a situation that takes place when members work closely with each other in a unified cooperative manner. For example, similarity and trust. Similarity, when the group members are similar, it's easier for the group to become cohesive. The similarity can be done to several factors, such having similar values, beliefs, life circumstances, or pressing life issues. While trust, when group members feel they can trust each other, group cohesiveness is more easily developed. Familiarity with jobs, co-workers, and the environment. Group effectiveness is increased when group members have a high degree of a specific knowledge of their jobs, co-worker, and the environment. Another factor that can affect the effectiveness of a work group is the familiarity of its member. If you are familiar with your job, you have the knowledge base necessary to make a more valuable contribution. For example, knowing your group members, it helps develop mutual trust, which lead to a better group performance. And knowing the culture and environment of the organization also contribute to group effectiveness. And lastly, characteristic of effective work groups are psychological safety. According to Edmondson, psychological safety is the belief that you will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concern, or mistake. Meaning, a good work or team is one that has members who are comfortable dealing with each other and trust each other. For example, admit your mistake or acknowledge your mistake and do not interrupt each other. It allows team members to safely express their feelings, which means the team member shows trust, respect, and express feeling of vulnerability and accept different opinions. Because that's why psychological safety is significant in all aspects of the workplace. It is a foundation of a high-performance teams and company growth.
Group decision-making style refers to a group playing a role in making a decision. Group decision-making takes place in different degrees. Also, each decision-making style affects the group in a unique way and has its own base uses. Knowing which style to use in a particular situation can be the difference between success and failure, especially in a business environment. There are two extremes for decision making. Number one is consultative decision making, in which the group leader consults with members before making a decision. You ask your team for information that would be helpful and for their opinions, either individually or as a group, but you make the final decision. Second extreme decision making is democratic. Decision making in which the problem at hand is turned over to the group, and group members are empowered to make the decision themselves. This is when the leader gives ownership and control a decision and allows the group to vote. Majority vote will decide the action. Advantages include a very fast decision and certain amount of group participate. Nominal group technique, an approach to developing creative alternatives that require group members to generate different solutions independently. Also, nominal group technique gathers information by asking individual to respond the request posed by moderator, and then asking participants to prioritize the ideas or suggestions of all group members. The nominal group technique used by the Center of Disease Control of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Number 1. Generating ideas. The moderator presents the question or problem to the group in written form and reads the question to the group. These generating ideas described as a process of creating, developing, and communicating abstract, concrete, or visual ideas. Idea generation technique is a creative process of coming up with a solution and ideas. It also involves developing these ideas and communicating them. Number 2 is recording ideas. Group members engage in a round-robin feedback session to concisely record each idea, without discussion or debate at this point. Recording ideas should focuses on the important activity of always being prepared to write down unexpectedly ideas and thoughts. Number 3 is discussing ideas. Each recorded idea is then discussed to determine, clarify, and importance. Discussing ideas means to understand the higher level messages behind an event, to understand human behavior, to look beyond what's given, and to find the solution for the problem. Number 4. Voting on ideas. Group members vote privately to prioritize ideas. The votes are tallied to identify the ideas that are rated highest by the group as a whole. To grow the best ideas, you have to collaborate, discuss, refine, and vote on ideas with the most potential for further development. Voting is how your users express interest in idea. If you have an active innovation community that is passionate about new ideas, your ideas will result in a lot of votes and likes. And the last is selecting the highest ranking alternative. After members rank their response in an order of priority, the moderator creates an tally sheet on a flip chart to computerize equivalent with numbers down the left-hand side of chart, which corresponds to ideas from the round robin. Alternatives should reflect substantially different approaches to the problem and different priorities across objectives, and should present decision makers with real option and choice. Good solutions are not possible without good alternatives. Some of the most recent people use collaborative software to facilitate communication by making it faster, clearer, and more persuasive. To communicate when it would not otherwise be possible. To enable communicating, working from home. To reduce travel costs. To bring together multiple perspectives and expertise. To assemble groups with common interests when it would not be possible to gather a sufficient number of people face to face. To facilitate group problem solving, and collaboration. Another example of collaborative software is a shared whiteboard that allows two or more people to view and draw on a common drawing surface even when they are at distance. The length of the group decision making is that drawing, sketch, and diagram might be an important part of decision making. An example would be a sales team suggesting ways of dividing a geography theory for selling.
Next is potential problems within groups. This is to pinpoint several potential problems with group effort and how to prevent them. So, for example, a work group might fail if it was not empowered, the group was low on emotional intelligence, and the members were poorly trained. Furthermore, similar results would occur if the group lacked the support of management. Members did not support one another, and members were quite unfamiliar with the tasks and with one another. Also, work group failures from the dysfunctional processes. So, here are the three major processes within groups that can hamper their effectiveness. So, first is group polarization, a situation in which post-discussion attitudes tend to be more extreme than pre-discussion attitudes. For example, as a result of group discussion, members of an executive team become more cautious about entering a new market. So, group polarization is a kind of group discussion which facilitates the several reasons and discovering the others' opinions and strengthen our position of every individual. Listening to persuasive arguments may also strengthen our convictions. And also, attitude is another contributor to polarization. Group polarization has a practical implication for managers who rely on group decision making. Workers who enter into group decision making with a stand on an issue may develop more extreme post decision positions. Workers who enter into group decision making with a stand on an issue may develop more extreme post decision. Example, a group of employees who were seeking more generous benefits may decided as a group that the company should become an industry leader in employee benefits even in an era when benefits are being reduced. Next is social loafing. Freeloading or shirking individual responsibility when placed in a group setting and removed from individual accountability. Two motivational explanation of social loafing. First is, some people believe that because they are part of a team, they can hide in the crowd. Second is, group members typically believe that others are likely to withhold effort when working in a group. In social loafing, there is a quotation that, why should I work so hard when the others are goofing off? In contrast, a good organizational citizen would not succumb to social loafing.
Groupthink, a deterioration of mental efficiency, reality testing, and moral judgments in the interest of group cohesiveness. Groupthink is a phenomenon that occurs when a group of individuals reaches a consensus without critical reasoning or evaluation of the consequences or alternatives. The group makes decisions without thinking for possible problem or any complication that coming on their way. They only have plan A's without plan B's. A negative implication of groupthink is that it interferes with effective decision making. Groupthink can often be prevented if the group leader or members encourages all group members to express doubts and criticism of proposed solution to the problem. Next is excessive collaboration. Collaboration is necessary for all types of group to function effectively, but excessive collaboration can be dysfunctional. For many workers, particularly introverts, time working alone can be critical for recharging and creative problem solving. In the zeal to foster collaboration with the groups, the value of people doing outstanding work by themselves is often forgotten. The excessive collaboration often leads to workflow bottlenecks and employee burnout.
Implication for managerial practice. Beware of group norms and the extent to which they facilitate or inhibit reaching organizational objectives. Reward systems must be developed that encourage high group performance. meaning group norms must be designed to encourage high performance. They shall not be used to limit or inhibit the group's ability to reach goals. For example, if a group performs well on a task or management, then higher performance standards may result. Number 2, when forming a new work group or team, recognize that time is needed before the group will be able to achieve maximum performance. Be alert to somewhat predictable stages of group formation and development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Which mean, when forming a new work group, remember that it will take time to get the group to peak performance. The number one reason why people are fired from the first job is the unavailability to along with others. Let's talk about the 4 stages of group development. Forming, the group learn from about each other, the group commonalities, and set group objectives. Storming, the group experience conflict with one another, resolve issues, and overcome issues by tolerating one another. Norming, the group works together to achieve common goals but may hold back criticism to avoid conflict. And lastly, performing, the groups achieve energy and individual work from common good without supervision. Next, be aware that group effectiveness is not a random occurrence. Strive to incorporate into the group many of the characteristics associated with work group effectiveness, such as proper job design, the right composition, and workload sharing. At the same time, if the task to be performed does not really require interdependent work, a group is not likely to make a better contribution than individuals working independently. Work group effectiveness is not a random phenomenon. It can be achieved by incorporating the various characteristics of work group effectiveness into the group. And lastly, collaboration within the group has many positive features, but an overemphasis on collaboration can drain productivity and suppress individual problem solving. As a group or team leader, you should therefore strive for a balanced approach to collaboration and individual problem solving. Many workers need time alone to perform analytical work, such as providing input to a budget or preparing a schedule. Although there are many positive features of collaboration, an overemphasis on it can drain productivity and limit individual problem solving. According to Rosalind Carter, a leader takes place where they want to go. A great leader takes place where they don't want to go, but ought to be. Group dynamics are the behavior of individuals and one group, and the behavior of one group of people with another group of people. Knowing how your group works out to be out the inside, as well as how it interacts with others' group, is key to leading it.